Good morning, everybody. It has been about a week. I hope everybody had a great holiday weekend. I wanted to share with you 5 things that you can do to kind of break yourself out of anxiety or a panic attack. I suffered from panic attacks for years, like decades. I can pinpoint exactly when it started and I can pinpoint when it ended and I started to get control over the panic attacks. But when you're having a panic attack, you just really want something to get you out of that feeling. It's a terrible feeling. And human beings, we want to stay away from uncomfortable, painful experiences. And so, some of what I'm going to tell you today is just how to kind of break that anxiety and get you out of the loop so you don't keep spiraling down. And some of it is just a distraction. The real thing that helped was talking to therapists and working through some of the issues and problems and difficult relationships and getting myself out of toxic relationships. But let me give you some quick things that can help you today if you're experiencing some panic attacks. So, first thing is to get something like a worry stone. This was my worry stone, but it could be anything that has a tactile function, and you just rub it in between your fingers. I'm trying to give you different views, and just focus on that and breathe. So if you take deep breaths and then exhale and keep doing that, forcing yourself to take slow, deep breaths while you're also doing this, you're activating 2 different parts of the brain, and it will help you to kind of get out of panic mode and kind of reset your nervous system. Another easy way to reset your nervous system is to get ice and to hold ice in your hands. I know it sounds crazy. For those of you that want to, you could also put your hands into a sink that's filled with water and ice. But basically, that act of putting your hands into ice cold water disrupts the nervous system. So it's not focusing on the panic and the anxiety, it's focusing on the cold. So again, you're distracting your brain and making it go somewhere else instead of following that path for anxiety where you just keep getting more and more anxious and it's building up. Other things that you can do to distract yourself would be, of course, to listen to music. Some people pray, some people watch TV, some people pace, but that's a distraction, right? It's short term, it's helpful way to get you to calm down so that then you could kind of go back and maybe examine, well, what triggered the panic attack? What made me feel anxious? Was it real? All right, other things that I do, and they were very helpful in terms of having a panic attack, is to focus on your 5 senses and to find things for your 5 senses that kind of put you back into the present moment instead of having that anxiety and worrying about something that might happen. Anxiety is usually future focused. You're worrying about something that may or may not happen. Okay. For me, like very easily, I could start getting a panic attack coming on when I knew I was going to be going onto a long car ride or a long plane ride, because you're basically trapped in that airplane or car, and that brings on claustrophobia. Doesn't happen anymore. One of the things that I use to kind of get me into the moment is this. I know it looks really weird, but here's the other part of it. It is just simply a fragrance stick. You inhale it, and the scent will A, help you relax, and B, bring you back into the present moment. What am I experiencing? What do I see? What am I hearing? What can I touch or feel? Am I hot? Am I cold? Am I hungry? Do I have to go to the bathroom? Like, do a body scan and bring yourself back to the present moment and ask yourself, my body is reacting out of fear. Is there anything really to be afraid of right in this moment? All right. The last tip that I want to give you that's really an easy fix, and you can order it from Amazon today. And this is not sponsored. I'm not an Amazon affiliate or anything. I bought one of these. I actually used to work with children in my former job, and this was actually very helpful for ages 6 and up. And even adults can use this. And so there's different textures on it, different things that you can play with. And it's a good way to fidget and to reduce some of that anxiety. Okay. So you would get one of these, and if you're feeling nervous in a car ride, you would just fidget with it. And it would help you kind of think about something else. And again, it's tactile, it's bringing you back to the present moment, and it gives you something to focus on instead of focusing on whatever catastrophe your brain started to think about, where you're probably not in danger, but your body's reacting like it's in danger. So those are the tips that I wanted to share with you today in case anybody was experiencing panic or anxiety. You're not alone. There's millions and millions of people that deal with panic and anxiety every day. And that was something that I thought was very helpful to know also, to know that you weren't alone, to know that it's very common. A lot of the people that I've encountered with over the years are actually high functioning people that are superstars at work. But one of the things that happens is because they are constantly working very hard, they never take time to reset their nervous system, and eventually it will catch up with them, and it leads to waking up in the middle of the night with your heart racing and you feel like you can't breathe, and you might feel like you're having a heart attack when it's the first time you're having a panic attack, and you're just like, oh my God, what's going on? I feel like I'm going to die. Or your panic attacks get to be so bad, you start to think to yourself, I wish that there was some way to stop this. I wish that there was, something that I could drink or take that would just, help me fall asleep. And I've met people that have also turned to alcohol and started abusing alcohol as a way to get themselves to calm down at night. It's not a healthy way to deal with it. It again will catch up with you. It's a high cost if you don't eventually deal with the anxiety. I dealt with the anxiety. I'm living a much more peaceful life now. And like I said, I went to therapy, and there's lots of therapy advertisements out there. I'm not going to plug anybody here. I would rather have a paid partnership in order to plug the very common people that advertise on YouTube. But it helps. It definitely helps. You have to find the right person. Because I'm a woman, I felt more comfortable meeting with a female therapist and talking about my problems. It helped to know that there were many books out there that talk about anxiety. There are places that offer quick fixes and make claims about being able to cure your anxiety within a certain number of days. Again, my experience is until you really talk to a therapist and dig down and look at what is causing the anxiety and the attacks, you're going to distract yourself and kind of cover it up. And you might have a couple of years where you feel fine and don't have an attack, and then all of a sudden they start coming on again because your body has again reached that point where it can't take it anymore, and it's telling you need to do something to address this. Think of the panic attack as a blessing in disguise, because again, your body is warning you that you need to address something that is not jiving with your heart or your spirit, or your body. If you abuse your body too much, again, by overworking and never taking a vacation, it's going to catch up with you. Other, things, if you're dealing with anxiety, besides finding a good therapist, besides reading books, there was a blog that I did a long time ago about different television shows that you could watch in order to distract yourself. And a lot of people do that. They'll either put on, music that will help distract them and get them out of panic mode, or they'll put on a television show. For me, it was something with a laugh track so that it was lighthearted. It was usually something that I had watched before, so I knew how it was going to end. Because believe it or not, when you're in the middle of a really bad panic attack, if you've never watched that television show before and you identify with the characters, you might actually start getting anxiety about whether or not the sitcom fictional characters are going to be okay. So again, it's weird what triggers people sometimes, but what I've noticed is when I used to have the panic attacks, it would start off small and it was a snowball and it would go down that hill and it would just get worse and worse and worse until so many things were triggering me. And, of course, the danger is agoraphobia. You end up reaching that point where you don't leave the house because everything brings on a panic attack. Driving, I've met people that have a fear of driving over bridges and that puts them into a panic attack. Some people have panic attacks if, they can't wear a certain t-shirt. It doesn't have to make any sense. And again, when you really finally look at it and ask yourself, am I in danger right now? Is there a saber-toothed tiger coming after me? And you're like, okay, I'm not in danger right now. What's going on? Why am I having this panic attack? It could be something that has been building up for months, and rather than addressing it, you just kind of push it away. Your body is now telling you, we're done with you kind of pushing this away and stuffing this down. We're going to make you pay attention, whether you like it or not. And so, think of that signal as a blessing. Maybe you're working at a job and you need to take a vacation or reassess, your job duties. Maybe you're being asked to do things at work that aren't even your job duty, but they're taking advantage of you. Why would you want to work someplace where they're taking advantage of you? You need to stick up for yourself. Or maybe it's a relationship that is causing you to have panic attacks. There were a couple of people when I was dating, and some of you have read the book, Say Yes to Yourself. Some of those dates, when I would think about going on the date, I would have a panic attack. And I'd be like, well, obviously this is not the right person because I feel unsafe with that person and I feel like, something is off. So that's a pretty clear indication that you shouldn't be around that person. Same thing with friends that want to do a certain activity. There is that cognitive behavioral therapy and exposure therapy, which, you can look up from some of the experts that are on YouTube. And I highly recommend Therapy in a Nutshell. She has a great channel. I'll put a link to her channel in this video once it's ready for editing. But, it really can be anything that kind of sets your brain off in terms of a panic attack. And there are ways to deal with it. But the best way to deal with it is, rather than to distract yourself, to just actually dig into those feelings and see what's going on. Again, is it a relationship? Of course, go to a doctor. It's always good to talk to your medical doctor when something like this comes up, because there's medicine that can help you until you are able to deal with the panic attacks and get it under control, and also to be able to sleep. But, I don't see medication as a long-term solution for panic attacks. I think there's other ways to go. And I know some people are very resistant to taking medication, but you absolutely should talk to a doctor if you're having panic attacks or anxiety. There could be a physical reason for it, and it would be good to get those things checked. And it's pretty easy to check for things that are, related to your thyroid and other conditions. So rule out anything physical. And then if it's not something physical, it's probably an emotional or mental thing that needs to be dealt with. And talk therapy is really helpful. I can't stress that enough. It's different than talking to a friend or family member because they're not trained in terms of how to dig into those delicate topics and to kind of lead the conversation so that you can have these realizations. And, make the discoveries on your own rather than telling you, well, this is what I think is wrong, because that doesn't help. It's helpful if you have the insight rather than someone else telling you what's wrong. And I know that a lot of people feel frustrated. I've been going to therapy for years and I feel like I haven't gotten anywhere. Have you not gotten anywhere? Because there's still something that you're avoiding. And again, your therapist is not going to put it like right in front of you and be like, this is your overall problem. Usually in therapy, they're trying to guide you in the discussions so that you can make the realization that, oh, I've been doing this. I've been looking at things this way. I never thought that I could look at things that way. And, a really simple example for my own life was, for years, I thought it was, really important to have a certain type of job and title, and had my identity very, very wrapped up in what I did for a living. I now realize that that wasn't about me. That was about me pleasing other people. And, you really can't live your life to please other people. That's a losing game. You only have one life. You need to live it to please yourself. So your job needs to make you happy and you need to feel good about what you're doing for a living. I've met a lot of people over the years that feel horrible going into work every day. And I just look at them and I'm just like, if you feel this bad about going into work, or you feel like you're doing something unethical or shady, stop doing it. Find a different job. There are jobs out there, especially, you're 20 or 30 and you want to switch careers because you feel like you made a mistake picking the career that you're currently in. There's time to change. I used to meet people in their 40s all the time that were coming back to get a new training and certificates and degrees in order to go out and to work in new fields. And, it was meaningful for them. They loved it. They felt like they had a new lease on life. It was a second chance. And so I really want to encourage you, again, if you're dealing with panic and anxiety, use the little tips and tricks, to get through it. But ultimately, examine, what's going on in your life, and journal and talk to somebody. And if you don't feel comfortable talking to a therapist, maybe you feel comfortable talking to a priest or a minister, or, maybe you do need to talk to a good friend. But, your friends will eventually get worn out from hearing about your problems all the time. So if you are going to talk to your friends, be a good friend in return, and also, be aware that they have their own issues. So you can't always be dumping on them. They need breaks too, which is why ultimately I think it's good for you to find a therapist, someone that's outside of the bubble of what's going on, to help you work through your issues and problems. So I hope that was helpful for you. If you know of any other tips or tricks to deal with anxiety and panic attacks, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I have some other ones that I'm going to put there. And again, it could be something really simple, like, one of these for the long car ride. Or it could be, if you're at home and you start having a panic attack, like I said, you just put your hands into ice and distract that nervous system, and it'll start, going down a different pathway instead of the panic pathway. But I hope everybody has a great day. And remember, the other great thing for everybody is to get some exercise and move your body around. So I hope that you get to go outside today and take a walk. And if you can't do that, dance inside. Dance like nobody's watching. Have a great day.